Okay, so two playoff games. One that I enjoyed very much as a neutral fan, Mavs Thunder, and then as a Celtics fan, I did not have a good time with the first game of the night. We'll talk about both. But yeah, as the title says, I think these games were weird. I mean, in the sense of Cavs Celtics, it was just Celtics. What the hell is going on? I mean, I'll give praise to Cleveland. Don't you worry. But in the case of Mavs Thunder, just even more questions moving forward in a series that I already was not confident in how it was going to look. And some of that's between Luka's health and how many minutes Giddy's going to get moving forward, because those 11 Giddy minutes, like, my goodness, those were rough. But yeah, we start with OKC and the Mavs, and I would like to start with probably Luka, who came out of the gate looking pretty nimble. The step back was cooking early, working off of screens, looking faster off of screens than you would have expected if you were just like a super pessimist with the way he was looking with the knee after the last game. I mean, he had a step back three over Giddy, he had one over Case and Wallace, he was getting Lou Dort on his back on screens and then getting into like his floater or pull-up two with Chet dropping on the screen. But then as the game went on, Luka had a stretch there where it felt like, he wasn't just totally able to dominate, we'll put it like that. And so then you're questioning, is the knee acting up? Is it, a stamina thing because of that? I don't know. I mean, obviously OKC's a very good defensive team. That has to matter. But then later on, we get, that one screen, I think it was Lively on Lou Dort, where Lou Dort falls over. I'm sure some say it should have been an illegal screen. Anyway, he gets the step back three where Chet has to go really high up on the action. Then he gets more of a signature Luka screen where it's get Lou Dort in his back, where he kind of snakes the screen, where they said it's super high for him from, I think, Gafford. And, Chet he's up there, but it's still a bit of a drop. And then it's just Lou Dort all over him, and it's Luka just that floater bank shot, defender all over him that he's made just millions of times in his career, and he shoots like 75% on those types of shots, right? So you got that. As all of this is happening, you have Kyrie, who's not shooting a whole lot, but I thought Kyrie played a really, really solid game of just passing and defense. I mean, hell, like very late there on SGA's drive, Kyrie just guarded SGA really well with his chest to where he's not fouling him, but he's being physical, and then Gafford and Derrick Jones Jr. were able to collapse on SGA, and that was basically the turnover that sealed the game. Then you also had the PJ Washington / Josh Green / Tim Hardaway nightmare situation for OKC. They made 12 threes between those three guys. I mean, granted, PJ had 7, but yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's a matter of OKC is a team that brings a lot of help. Dallas has two guys who draw a lot of help, and sometimes it's as simple as do the other guys knock him down. Now, with that said, Tim Hardaway Jr. making a corner three when he almost lost the ball out of bounds was some insanity. Also, I love that PJ post up on a SGA where it was like a high-low action with him and Luka. Anyway, I do want to talk about the other side of the floor, and look, I usually don't focus too much on individual player plus minus because there's so much noise and variance and that type of thing. With that being said, Josh Giddey was minus 20 in 11 minutes, and you could feel it, man. I mean, from the second the game began, it was Gafford on Giddey, and it was, I think, PJ on Chet, some Derrick Jones on Chet. It felt like Dallas was switching more Chet actions in general, which I do think took that off the table a little bit for OKC, but as I say that, like, Chet had some makeable threes that he missed in this game, and they were able to take advantage of it sometimes. So, for example, like, one play Gafford was guarding Wiggins out of the corner. This is when Giddey not in the game. And then Chet, like, slips a screen or whatever, gets to the middle of the floor, then he's hitting Wiggins for a three. So you had little moments like that for OKC. But anyway, right off rip with Giddey being guarded by Gafford. I mean, I took the notes right as it was happening. Giddey misses a corner three. Giddey, he drives, or he attempts to drive on Gafford, and he's got to make a desperate pass out to somebody who misses a three. Later on, J-Dub had a catch and drive from the wing where Giddey cut, and J-Dub threw it to him because Gafford was just waiting for him at the rim. Giddey misses the floater. And then big Jalen Williams entered the game. He made a couple of threes. He allowed the Thunder to be as big as they can be up front with him and Chet. And so then they get back in the game. And you got Aaron Wiggins out there who's making threes or, converting like catches off the drive into floaters or whatever. And then Giddey comes back in, and then it's Derek Lively right on Giddey. And I think the very first play was like them trying like a Giddey-Chet two-man action, because that's what you got to try to do if they're going to not guard Giddey. Like, you got to try to make him pay somehow. And so Lively just switches on to Chet, which basically just stops the play in its tracks. Then you got to improvise, and they didn't get a bucket. And so then second half begins. Wiggins is out there. Things are going okay. Giddey has a very small stretch in the third. The very first play, they try to get Giddey, like, the ball on the wing or the elbow, try to use him as a hub, and they try to run an off-ball action for SGA to get free. I think Kyrie steals it immediately. It's a turnover. It's just like, the Giddey minutes were so bad, man. With the largest play being a one where a Lively helped off a Giddey, and SGA basically had to turn in midair to pass the ball out because Lively was all over. I mean, SGA was very good in this game overall. Like, he was making his signature SGA shots, the pull-ups, the fadeaways. Got Luka on a switch late there for a step-back three. And at the same time, like, you're not maximizing him or J-Dub, who was making some shots and stuff too. If they're just able to not guard Giddey this hard. And like, sure, Giddey, he had like a little floater in transition. I think he drew a foul on another transition play. Like those couple little plays, it doesn't change what it was just in the half court play after play. So then Giddey leaves the game, and then Casey Wallace comes in, and then he makes like a three in the corner where Luka bit on a pump fake, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what it can look like. But even then in the fourth, I thought Dallas defensively, with Giddey not playing, still did some good things. Like Gafford had a really good play where he got out to Isaiah Joe, who was open for a second on an off-ball action. He like switched onto him to blow up that play. I mentioned the really good one-on-one defense Kyrie had on SGA like 2 minutes ago. One time J-Dub drove and you had like 4 Mavs in the paint ready for him, which I mean the risk is you're giving up a 3, but the timing of it was like right on to where like he basically just committed to the layup and then everybody was there, and then like Wiggins tried to cut and he's missing because all the Mavs are still there. And I know Derek Lively had a really tough time finishing in this game. I did think he had solid defensive plays throughout the game. One time contesting like a J-Dub floater when he was helping off Aaron Wiggins. Okay, anyway, I've stalled long enough. Let's get to this Cavs-Celtics thing. Okay, look, man, I get it. Shooting variance game. Cavs at one point made like 10 of 15 threes or something like that. They were over 50% from 3 for the majority of the game. It dipped below 50 by the end of the game, but it was garbage time at the end. Celtics had a very bad 3-point shooting game. As always with them, liked some of their 3-point attempts, didn't like some of them. Okay, fine. I did not like the Celtics' energy. I did not like their communication defensively. Like, there was a play where Darius Garland gets a screen from, I don't remember who. I think it was Max Strus. Whoever Tatum was guarding on this particular play. And Derek White believes it's going to be a switch. At least that's what I would like to think because of how far off he ended up off of Darius Garland. And then there's basically no attempt at him at all, and he makes a 3. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is this? A couple plays where Horford is just dropping on screens, and it's like Garland getting a pull-up 3, or Mitchell doing the same thing. And that one I'm not as mad at just because Horford's old. Like, you cannot ask Horford to switch onto dudes in their mid-20s all the time. Like, I get that one. And even then, I mean, they're putting Horford on Okoro, like, for a good chunk of these games, and, Cleveland's putting Okoro in screen actions. They're like, okay, Horford, we're still going to make you, like, be in the drop, and we've got a little bit of a window and all that. Now, he's ending up on Mobley for some of these, too, don't get me wrong. I thought Mobley had a couple of great defensive plays, like guarding Tatum or Jalen straight up. I'm mostly focusing on, like, the third quarter, because that's when this game really ended. Like, I know Mobley got buckets in, like, the first half in this game, and hey, credit to him. I mean, whether it's a 3, whether it's, like, going at Horford in a one-on-one, whether it's there was a play with Cornette at the rim, and Mobley like got him to jump, or he finished over him. I don't remember exactly because eventually I just got kind of mad at the third quarter. Also, another play that made me mad was Mitchell got a Tatum switch and immediately rose up for the 3. And like, sure, I get it. It's technically a 3-pointer with a defender like 3 feet away from him. The contest was just not good enough. The switch was not urgent enough. And it's frustrating because the Celtics team, for as talented as they are, I get it, Porzingis is out and all that stuff. Okay. And look, I picked them to win the series in 5 games. So technically speaking, we're pretty much right on schedule. But with how bad they looked in that second or third quarter especially, like, bro, what are we doing? Also, I saw Tristan Thompson just basically wall off the rim as Jason Tatum drove at him, and I was like, listen, Jason, I love you. You have not been that amazing in these playoffs. I'm just going to call it like it is. I mean, I've liked his free throw attempts. His, the assist to turnover stuff has been solid, but the efficiency has not been great. And, like, look, again, I picked him to win the series in 5. I'm going to pick him to win in the next round. But you just can't help but know that there's just this thing in this Celtics team. Like, credit to Cleveland, okay? They did the thing, don't get me wrong. But there's just this thing in this Celtics team that occasionally pops up, and they just look bad. So, yeah. Anyway, I still believe they're going to win the series in 5 games. Wouldn't shock me at all if they win both games in Cleveland by 20-plus points, because that's the Celtics team for you. Anyway, that'll do it.